Hello, this is Steven L. Yes, we're back with yet another Batman 66 episode review. Today, we'll be reviewing the episode How to Hatch a Dinosaur, the second part to this Egghead and Olga caper. Without any further ado, let's dive into the review. We begin the episode with Egghead and Olga, the queen of the Bassarovian Cossacks, still on the loose. They go to the Gotham City Radium Center where they rob 2 pounds of radium. We then do the opening credits and we're back to Police Commissioner Gordon's office. We're still trying to figure out what Egghead's plan is, as robbing 2 pounds of radium is really nothing that really dangerous, except for building a weapon. The problem is they don't know who. We then go to essentially a Gotham City museum where Barbara Gordon is there visiting Professor Duxley. I believe that's how he's pronounced. And essentially there is old giant dinosaur egg, which has been around for 40 million years. She wonders if it were to be stolen, since there's a criminal who would steal anything connected with eggs. He said there's no real value to it, and they then walk off. We then see Olga and Egghead, who turns out were hiding in the museum, and steal the Neosaurus egg for their own criminal purposes, unbest known to Barbara and the professor. Barbara then alerts the theft of the egg to her dad, and in turn he alerts the dynamic duo. They then try to figure out what Egghead plans to do with the egg and the radium. They then remember a Professor Grimes article on refertilizing fossils, and I love to see when they realize that they try to find the copy. Batman knows they have a copy of it in Wayne Manor. Barbara tries to find the library, realize they don't, and the only person to have it is in Bruce Wayne's mansion. So they both end up calling Alfred to get the answer, and the funny thing is, he has to balance saying both the article, what's in the article, and of course at the same time not reveal both each other's identities. It's really fun, and you can clearly tell Alfred has a lot on his mind. They then come to the conclusion that essentially Egghead wants to use the radium to hatch the Neosaurus egg. And we then cut to Egghead in his hideout with Olga, planning to hatch the egg as he's created a device to do so. He then plans to hatch the dinosaur egg and use it as his pet to take control of Gotham City. In other words, cause chaos. And because it's an egg-themed caper, this will be a caper straight up his alley. But most importantly, it'll be enough dowry to satisfy Olga so they can be properly married. Just as that's happening, Batman, Robin, and Batgirl are using a radar device as they end up meeting up to try and locate Egghead's hideout. Just as they get there, Egghead and Olga are surprised to see Batgirl and Robin enter, and a bat bite breaks out, with Batgirl and Robin being quickly subdued. But however, Olga is surprised knowing where Batman is, as he's not one to run away from a fight. Egghead says he knows Batman, he's probably just a coward. However, he is not, as we know. We also find out that the radium is working and the Neosaurus egg is beginning to hatch. As a result, an actual dinosaur comes out of the egg, but is mad at Egghead and Olga, and Egghead, Olga, and the men run out the back into a police car, a giant police truck where Chief O'Hara and his men are waiting for them. Just as that happened, Batgirl and Robin think about subduing the egg until Robin realized that the dinosaur will probably just want some sandwiches. Batgirl is confused, and it turns out the dinosaur is actually Batman. He managed to get himself inside the egg and dress up as this dinosaur in order to scare Olga, Egghead, and his men into going into the police paddy wagon truck. Discussing that whole thing has caused Batgirl to secretly walk away whilst them not knowing. However, despite the fact Robin wants to find out where Batgirl is, Batman decides not to because of what he's dressed. We then end the episode with Bruce, Dick, O'Hara, Gordon down at eating some of Barbara's birthday cake, and essentially discussing the events of the episode, where she receives a phone call from Skip Parker to to possibly come down to the Gotham Beach to enjoy the surfing contest, where we then see that the Joker and his cohorts arrive and in the Joker mobile at Gotham Point, planning to take control of the Gotham City surfing scene. Want to know more about that? Tune in for next week's episode to find out more. Okay. Again, I say this again, Robin and Batgirl work very well together, and I still believe that those two are a good pairing and a match and better chemistry with Batgirl and Batman. Even though it's clear that Robin is a bit young, I think 17, and Batgirl probably in early 20s, I still think those two are a better pairing than whatever chemistry this third season will always try to give us with Batman and Batgirl. Other than that, the main cast is really not that really interesting this time around, as they're kind of rather bland. However, Egghead is not bland. Vincent Price is really fantastic. First off, the idea of him trying to hatch a dinosaur egg and have this dinosaur essentially roam around and cause chaos in Gotham is such a brilliant caper for his type of villain. I'm surprised, and it makes sense, heavenly. Though you can point the logic, it's a fun idea for him. Another thing I also like is, of course, he has a unique motivation. Other than being an egg-related theme, he also wants to marry Olga. Again, showing a bit of character development, but still surprisingly not portraying him as much of a wimp. And even when Vincent Price has to act scared or intimidated by the dinosaur, he does it very well and very comedic. Again, I think Egghead is a little bit more comedic in Season 3 than he was in Season 2. Olga. Anne Baxter portrays this character marvelously and works off really well with Vincent Price. I also kind of feel that sadly Olga is doesn't really progress that much in the second part than she did in the first part, but that's my personal opinion. She works incredibly well with Egghead, and the two work off immensely well. Also here we have Joker, who appears at the very end. It's good to find we got Cesar Romero coming back, and it's going to be a really interesting episode as Joker will be taking over the world of surfing, something very different. How to Hatch Dinosaur is a very weird episode, and I think this is where the quality of the show kind of dipped. It stretched the plausibility too far, though despite the fact I really like Olga and Egghead, a really great pairing, I kind of feel that this episode was weirdly rushed into production. It has very little continuity and feels like a completely different episode, despite the fact it's meant to be a second part and a two-parter. I don't know, this episode is kind of weird. With only its saving grace is arguably having Egghead and Olga work together. And there we have it. That was How to Hatch a Dinosaur. Don't worry, Egghead and Olga will be back for one more round this season before we're through. In the meantime, join us next time where Batman, Robin and Batgirl will be going up against the Joker as he tries to take over the Gotham surfing scene at Gotham Point. Want to find out more and how? Tune in next time to the same Steven hour, the same Steven channel. Ladies and gentlemen, so long for now.